today's video, I'm gonna show you 7 different mistakes that can ruin your React project. So make sure to watch till the end. All of them are equally important. First mistake is not using lazy initialization when it is necessary. What is lazy initialization and why we need it? Here you can see I have a non-computed value. Here you can see I have a computed value. Here you can see I have a console log render. So here when I increment and decrement, this component get re-rendered again and again. The problem is when this counter state get changed, this value get computed again and again, which is useless because we only need this when we initialize it, not in every change. So we need to fix that issue. To do that, we can create a function and return it. Now the problem is solved, but I cannot check it in the console. So let me change it a bit. Here I'm gonna add a function and return it. Before doing that, I'm gonna add console log init state like this. Let me refresh. Here you can see I have init state render like that. Now I'm gonna change the counter. Here you can see this init state only logged once. That means this function only executed once. Problem solved. Next mistake is not accessing previous state in the right way. Here you can see I have a counter. Here I have count +1, count -1. Here I'm going to increment and decrement. It works, no problem, right? So here let me add the same thing 3 times. Now according to this code, I should increment this by 3, right, instead of 1. So let me check. It's 1. Why that happened? The problem is this. Here the count value is 0, right? So now here the count value is 0, here count value is 0, here count value is 0. 0 plus 1, 0 plus 1, 0 plus 1, final answer is 1. In this set count function don't access the previous state that was changed from this step. So how can I fix that one? To fix it, we have to access that using a function. Let me change the code a bit. Here I'm gonna get the previous state and this should be a function, and here I'm gonna add preview. Now when I refresh, it should increment by 3. You see, it's okay. So this is how you access the previous state correctly. Next mistake is not using custom hooks to separate logic. Here you can see I have a counter, right? Previous step I showed you this initialize state, and here also I have a counter. Instead of coding it in multiple places, I'm gonna copy this logic and paste it in use counter hook here. Then I'm gonna return count, handle increment and handle decrement. So here you might already notice I passed the handle increment and handle decrement functions but didn't pass the set count function. Why I didn't do that? The problem is this. So here I have handle increment and I have a logic here, right? So if I pass the set count to a child component and it decide to change this state, it's hard for me to track which one changed the state. Also, let's say in the future I decide to increase the count by 10 instead of 1. In this situation, I only have to change this place, then the entire app will change. But if I pass the set count and do it in child components, I have to go through all the child components and change it. So that's very hard. We should prepare for a change. So that's why we don't pass this set count. Here I have handle initialize one, right? Here I'm gonna replace it with use counter. Here I'm gonna get count, handle increment and handle decrement. Okay, yeah, let's go to the update state one. Here also I'm gonna remove everything and I'm gonna get const use counter count handle increment handle decrement handle increment. Done. Now here when I change it, still it works. By the way, I have a separate playlist for custom hooks. You will see a lot of important custom hooks and some of them are very complex. I will upload more videos for that playlist as well. So make sure to subscribe and don't miss out those stuff. Next one is prop delete. What is prop delete? Here you can see I have the top layer. From top layer I pass the title to the middle layer. Middle layer get that title but don't use it. It pass it to the bottom layer. Bottom layer use it. This is what we call prop delete. Middle layers don't use the prop, it just pass it. What are the disadvantages? Here you can see I have to pass this prop to all the layers. So this is additional code. If I can access that directly from this bottom layer, we don't need to pass it through all the props. Also, if you are using Typescript, you have to write the type for all the components. Also, there's another problem. Here, if I pass handle delete prop to the middle layer and accidentally you pass it as on remove to the bottom layer and bottom layer as a on remove function. Okay, in that scenario, our code will become harder to read. Here you might not see how annoying that is, but when you are dealing with 10 to 12 layers, you have to read all the code just to understand what's going on. So that's really bad. How to fix this problem? There are two ways. One way it's contest API, other one is using an external store. For this example, I'm gonna use contest API. Here, I'm gonna go to title provider. This is a component I already created. I just get the children and pass it here like this and export that function. That's it. Here, let's convert this to a context. Here, I'm going to create a context called title context. Here, default value is an empty string. Now I'm gonna get this title context and paste it here, and I get the provider from it. And here I'm gonna pass value as context title. Okay, to easily access this value, I'm gonna create a custom hook below. It's called const use title use context title context. That's all. So here in the top layer, I'm gonna cut this middle layer component and wrap it inside the title provider. Here I'm not gonna pass the title. Let's go to the middle layer. First I'm removing this title. I don't need the props actually. Let's remove the props there. So okay, let's go to the bottom layer. Bottom layer also don't need props. Here I'm gonna get the title from the hook. Const title is title. Here you can see contest title is in the UI. So you can see how clean our code is. Next mistake is using index as the key. Here you can see I have an array and it is rendered in the UI correctly. But the problem is here when I sort this array in a different order, React will re-render this entire list again, which is unnecessary. Here if we pass a unique value, React only renders the item that changed. So in that way we can save performance. Next mistake is not using fragment in the right place. Here you can see I have a div and here also I have a div. Here I only use this div to group this element. Therefore we don't necessarily need this div. We can use a fragment here. This is one way of adding fragment, which is an empty tag. Also, we can do the same thing here because we group these two items using this div. In here, instead of adding empty brackets, we should add fragment. The reason is for empty brackets, we cannot add the key. Here we can add the key. Now you can see I have removed two div elements from the DOM. In this way, we can use less CSS to maintain our UI. Next mistake is not using code splitting when it is necessary. What is code splitting? It basically means that instead of loading the entire bundle once, we can separate that bundle into different chunks and load it when it is necessary. Why we need that? The main advantage is we can reduce the initial page loading time. Because, for example, here I have a model. When I load this page, I don't need this model in the initial render. So I can load this page faster if I didn't load the JavaScript related to this part. So I can split this model into a smaller chunk and load it later when I click this button. How can I do that? Let me show you. Here you can see I have a model. I'm gonna import that dynamically. Const dynamic model react.lazy import model, and I get this dynamic model and use it instead of the current one. Now I'm gonna wrap this component with suspense. Like this. Also, we can add a fallback UI here. While this is loading, I can put load in here. So here I'm gonna Control Shift R, and you can see loading would appear as tiny bit of time, and then this model get open. In this way, we can split the code into chunks and load it when it is necessary. That's all for this video. See you in the next one.